Governor Abbott's office has responded to the claims that he pushed to have the recent voter purge list released by the Secretary of State. Well, his office says that this is patently false. Neither the governor nor the governor's office gave a directive to initiate the process, as the emails show. No one speaks for the governor's office but the governor's office, end quote. Here to talk about this is Travis County GOP Communications Director Andy Hogue and Juliet Barbara from the Workers' Defense Action Fund. Thank you both for being here.
Thank you.
Andy, who do you believe directed the Secretary of State, Whitley, to release this list?
Yeah, well, that's not for me to decide. I mean, what happened was what happened. We'll find out. But I wish we wouldn't call it a purge. I mean, ultimately, it was the start of a process to advise county elections divisions and departments to begin looking at some suspect names. And I believe the process worked itself out. We found out there were some flaws in the procedure. There were some names that may have just not been processed in time, people that had become naturalized citizens, things like that. But ultimately, I think it was a fair process, and we saw that. It was just a little bit early and before a legislative session, so it all broke loose.
Yeah, a lot of politics involved in that.
Yeah.
Juliet, what would it mean if the governor, in fact, did ask for that data? Would that be significant?
Absolutely, and I don't think it would be a surprise. And frankly, the emails speak for themselves. There was an urgent request from the office of the governor, and if the governor wasn't aware of that, well, frankly, that's really hard to believe. The fact that this is the highest elected official in our state, overseeing and directing, according to the emails, and a voter suppression campaign is highly troubling. But it's also not surprising because there is a widespread pattern of voter suppression in our country. It's part of the Republican playbook, and it needs to stop.
Andy, legally speaking, where does this go from here? I mean, obviously the governor and the governor's office denying all this. What's next? Where does it go?
Yeah, well, I wish I was a lawyer and I could tell you more legally. But what I will say is that the Democrat playbook is all about don't tell. In other words, don't ask if you're an illegal voter, and then unless you have absolutely substantive information, don't tell. So we're never able to get to the second part of the process because it's always frowned upon. So I think what we need to do is maybe look at what went wrong with the list David Whitley came up with, see what we can do better next time, and come up with a more refined, accurate list, and maybe do it after a legislative session when all the pressure isn't there and it's not used to score political points, maybe even after an election, so it doesn't become a political football.
Right. You know, Juliet, I mean, Andy seems to be saying that the central issue of asking for this type of list is not a bad thing, but just the way it was presented and put out and represented was a bad thing. I mean, the essential issue of let's make this list, let's find out about this. Do you have a problem with that as well?
Well, look, we know from the very beginning that this was politically motivated. It didn't serve any legitimate purpose, and it was completely botched, right? And we know that because of the kind of announcement that was made when the list was released. This was used to tell a story, to claim that there was widespread voter fraud, and to fuel a racist, anti-immigrant agenda that we're seeing across the country. And it's no coincidence that President Trump tweeted it, using it as apparent evidence of widespread voter fraud, which we later found out very quickly was just not true.
Okay, we're going to wrap it up. So far, the governor says he didn't do it. Juliet, Andy, thank you both very much.
Thank you.